The meeting will now come to order, and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all please stand? Mr. Miller, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. I would request an approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to that effect?
I make a motion.
I second.
All in favor of such motion, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. It passes unanimously. Okay, we now have call to the public. Is there someone signed up? Yes. Cliff Terry.
Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity, and other members of the board. I wish to welcome Dan Miller to this station and this board. I know you're going to do a great job. You have a great background. And it sounds like something that we really need to help this whole college grow. There's a lot of things that we from Saddlebrook Ranch have observed about this college. Some of the things we've said in the past were it grew too fast and didn't understand the population. It wasn't increasing. We hope you recognize where those situations are. There was a president way back in 2004, President Callaway, who created a beautiful plan, a great one. And the only problem was that we got into a deep depression and we couldn't get out of it quick enough. And in the meantime, much of the plan was implemented. So we're hoping that our new president, Jacqueline Elliott, will appreciate the fact that those things existed in that manner, and that she will not be too quick to catch on to the next phase of phase 3, $150 million to be put upon the onus of the public taxes. So we don't want that to occur very quickly. We've got to recover from everything happening, build up this campus, this college. I've thought about ways of how to do that. I mentioned some of them to Rick Gibson about having business administration together with him in a council of some sort to help bring in some new ideas and some help to the college. The industry gives a lot of help to colleges across the nation. And if we can have that happen here, there's a new opportunity coming that we should all work forward to. Vipa College has a lot of free space. They've got some training out there for diesel engine repair, mechanics. Caterpillar tractors coming to town. They're going to be down in Tucson. They'll be 600 strong in 5 years. If we can catch on with those people at the beginning of time here, maybe we can get them to help participate with Vipa, for example. They've got a place to tinker and have some students tinkering with them on the new mining equipment they want to manufacture and engineer. And it's a perfect opportunity because that college was the technical college first, and it was for geology, for mining, and they know about it. So they can help Caterpillar too. So think about those aspects of getting some business involved with the college to help it. Thank you. We're here to help you.
Okay, that was the only person on the call to the public tonight. It's not on the agenda, but we do have a new board member. He was introduced last month when he could not be here, when I read nice things about him. But next to the end there, next to Dr. Banks, is Dan Miller. He's our newest board member. So welcome him. Okay, Mr. Yarrington, is there an AADGB report?
They're off for the summer, and our next meeting will be in September. So we get summer off.
Very good. Mr. Gibson, is there a Pinal County Governmental Alliance report?
Madam President, members of the board, members of the public, there has been no meeting, therefore I have no report.
Thank you. Mr. President, is there a college report from the president?
Yes. there is a
Okay.
college report, but we got here so quickly. I'm taken back. Actually, under the President's report, the legislative update, I shared with the board last month that the legislature was adjourning. That would likely be no more legislative activity, but there was one additional bill signed into law, House Bill 1523, which caps the amount by any taxing agency to an amount not to exceed a maximum of 15%. So that is now in place and will affect all taxing agencies in the state. Also, a judge hearing the case by Pima County against the state in reference to the 1% equalization bill has rendered a decision in favor of Pima, which positively affects CAC.
Oh, absolutely.
As I had reported before, we would have had to share $1 million of our operating budget with other agencies who were in areas that didn't have quite the assessment that they needed. It was a device where the state has always constitutionally been required to do that, but they were shifting that to the local taxpayer. And so at this point, it was ruled by the judge to be unconstitutional. It had 5 or 6 other arguments, and what I have heard from the lobbyist for Pima is that it's likely not to be, it was so flawed, a piece of legislature, it's likely not to be reintroduced. So PTOC was given the charge of calculating that sum for all agencies, and even that process was not agreed upon or understood by anyone. So
That's good news
that
for
is
quite a number
legislation.
of
Yeah, we have the money in
entities.
the budget for this year, but we won't be sending it out. Is that right, Mr. Correct. Correct.
Great.
On the district update, during week of June 6th, the Casa Grande Elementary School District children participated in a health care career camp, which included visits to Sun Life, Banner, Casa Grande Medical Center, Cabot, and to Central Arizona College, and that was a big success. Enhancements to the on-campus living through Residence Life will be available this fall. A variety of themed lifestyle housing options will allow students to choose the type of community that they want to live in. And if you want more information about that, it's under the news section on the website. On a really positive note, multiple positive notes, carrying that theme forward, Apache Junction Chamber of Commerce has selected Central Arizona College as the recipient of the 2015 Large Business of the Year for significant contributions to the events, activities of their community up there. This is, of course, largely due to the efforts of Superstition Mountain Campus in that area, and the plaque, which I guess we could take a picture of that, right? Will be taken up to the Superstition Mountain Campus and hung in a prominent place. We're very proud to be selected for that.
That's nice.
Now, if you can join me, I think we have some retirement
Okay.
that we want to share. This tends to be the time of year, as we change fiscal years, that people sadly leave our organization. And first, I'd like to call forward Deborah Gala. Deborah. I know Mr. Watkins morning, you're not so much happy about it. This morning, Deborah's been with us since 2003. Show the plaque. librarian. Rhonda has served the college for many years, since 2002, up at the Superstition Mountain campus. And we're going to miss you. Thank you for your years of service. And last, but certainly not least, Barbara Encinas. Barbara, can you step forward? Barbara is Community and Community Outreach Coordinator and has been with the college since the year 2000. And she's finally decided that there's more to life. Barbara has served in many capacities. Thank you. And next, as part of the, let me sit down where I get to the microphone.
Dr. Moore,
Yes, sir.
may I offer a point of order?
Yes, please.
Just to correct slightly your statement about the legislature and the bill that was passed. There's not a cap, but the exact words are, the motion to levy the increased property taxes over 14% must be approved by unanimous consent of the Board of Governors.
Ah, good
All
point.
5 of you have to say yes before you can go over 14%.
I
That's
guess
the bill.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
for that. Appreciate that. Okay. Next, I would like to call forward Maggie Dooley, the Director of the CAC Foundation, for a presentation to the college, and I think she has some board members with her.
Good evening, President Christensen, governing board members, Dr. Moore, Mary Lou, guests and colleagues. It's a pleasure to be here today, and this is a time of year when we come before, the foundation comes before the board to make a transfer of funding for scholarships. I'd like to introduce Alice Wilcox, who is our secretary and treasurer of the foundation board. Alice is also the president of the Pinell County Federal Credit Union, and this is her first time up here for the presentation, so I was very happy that she's able to join us. I don't think we've ever really explained the process of how we determine the funding for our scholarship transfers, so I just wanted to let you know that the entire board discusses what the allocation will be after looking at the trends of the market during the year, and this usually happens in the fall. And then by the end of December, there's a decision made on what the college, what the foundation feels that they're going to be able to allocate for scholarships. This year, as I'm sure you know, and during 2015, late 2015, and even into early 2016, the market was very volatile. It was fluctuating like a roller coaster. And so we waited actually until January to make some decisions on what our allocations would be. So this year, it was a conservative determination of 3%, with the exception, of course, for scholarships that have a criteria there's actually stipulated in their fund agreement. And also we were able to look at some of the funding that we had for Promise, and we're able to increase that to more than 3%. So with that saying, I also just want to let you know that we have seen a trend in giving to the college, giving to the foundation. Well, we've seen that, you know, our gifts that are coming in has gone down a little bit, but what we're seeing is that we have more people donating to the college, as well as we've been able to maintain some of our recurring gifts and recurring grants for the foundation. The Board of Directors and the foundation staff is firmly committed to continue looking toward two ways for raising funds for the college. And matter of fact, we have a very big meeting planned in July where we have two of our larger committees getting together to talk about how we're going to be doing outreach and what we call friend-raising as well as fundraising. And also we do know that it's going to be pretty exciting next year working with Dr. Elliott, who will be coming in with a background in fundraising, and I'm sure she'll have plenty of new ideas to share with us. And, you know, as part of that, too, we'll be working with the community to look at how we're going to go about raising additional funds for Promise, as well as raising new monies for other scholarships. So with that, I just want to ask Alice to say a few words, and we'll be able to present our check to you.
Well, I am new to the foundation board. It's a real privilege to just serve our future students and our current students. So just with that, I want to let you know that we have transferring to the college $200,501.56 for this year.
I like big checks.
So I also want to thank all of you, because many of you have donated to the foundation. And really, we've seen employee giving going up this year. And I just want to thank all of you for your continued help and contributing to not only Promise, but to many of the projects of scholarships that we have at the foundation. So thank you.
You ready to push me?
Maggie and Alice, thank you so much for the generous support of the foundation to the college. That's going to permit a lot of students to continue their education and achieve their educational goals. We're very pleased with the work the foundation does. Under the correspondence portion of the President's report, the board has in their packet, and I'll let you read the entire thing, but for the audience, there's an email from Miss Tori Barimi, a counselor at the Core Zone Integrated Health Care Services, praising the efforts of Mr. Luis Vega as he presented to the high school students of Core Zone. He did an exceptional job, and they couldn't say enough about how supportive he was of the students and how excited the students are about the opportunities. The other piece under the correspondence is an article posted on June 14th about 6 Vaquero baseball players who were chosen in the 2016 Major League Baseball draft. So 6 of our players have already been selected for Major League Baseball. We'll see how they do in the major leagues. Next, we have the association reports, and we begin with the support constituent group, Christina Rosenbaum.
Sorry, it kind of snuck up on me. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, President Moore, staff, students, and community members. First, for support staff, we would like to thank the board for approving the 2% salary increase, which will allow us to remain competitive. I know it's not an easy decision, and I know there is much to take in consideration, but we appreciate all the time that you put into making your decisions. Also, this will be my last report as a support staff president. This fly is driving me nuts, sorry. And I have to say that it's been an experience. And through it all, I've had the privilege to meet and work with some truly amazing and caring people. Not only have I met great staff members, but great people. They strive to better themselves and their surroundings. Whether this be in the day-to-day work or in the community, they give and don't expect anything in return. One of the ways they do this is by hosting several drives at each campus. This past year alone, Support donated over 229 school items to both the Casa Grande and Eloy Elementary School districts. We raised and donated $150 to the college fund of a little girl who had recently lost her mom. And Support and PTK worked jointly in collecting and donating over 804 winter items to the Genesis Project in Apache Junction. These are just a few of the projects we have worked on and will continue to work on and strive for higher numbers. Now, I mention these because they are important to support staff and they are important to the community agencies who receive these items and who depend on them. Now, before I end, I would like to introduce the new district officers for our support staff constituency group. First is our district president, Hazel Rossi. And next is our vice president, Yolanda Telemontes. Now, Hazel has been with CAC for over 14 years, and she's currently at the Superstition Mountain campus. She also participated in the Presidential Search Committee, and she's held this position before. Yolanda has been with CAC here at SPC for over 17 years, and she as well has also held this position, and they both, within this last year, completed their bachelor's.
Yeah.
That's it. This concludes the support staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Next, managerial technical, Paula Brock.
Good evening, President Christensen, governing board members, Dr. Moore, Mary Lou, of course, students, colleagues, and guests. I don't know if we have any students here, but if we do, welcome. Managerial and technical staff would like to, first and foremost, welcome our newest board member, Dan Miller. Welcome, and please know that we appreciate your willingness to serve alongside our other longstanding board members. As I reported last month, MTSA was also in the process of electing a new slate of officers, and tonight I'd like to introduce our new slate as well. Serving as our secretary-treasurer will be Adriana or Audrey Saavedra. Audrey is our, I got the same fly. He's everybody's friend, I guess. Audrey is our Director of Library Services for the district. Our Vice President will be Hugo Steinham. Hugo is our Director of Grant Resources. And serving as President will be Paula Prock. That's me. I will be rolling over into the new year, and all three of us look forward to a very positive year. We also want to give a heartfelt thank you to Dr. Moore for your willingness to step in as acting president for the past 6 months or so. We appreciate everything you've done, and we will miss you greatly. Thank you, Dr. Moore, for everything you've done, for your attention, and most definitely for your ongoing support for employees. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, governing board members, and we will see you again in August. Thank you.
Next, Dr. Ruth Butler, faculty.
Honorable board members, acting president Moore, vice presidents, deans, students, colleagues, I bring you greetings from the CAC faculty. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our new board member, Dan Miller. Warm greetings from the faculty. We don't have a report per se, but I would just like to make a few comments and express appreciation, echoing what my colleagues have already said. One, thank you for the increase. We appreciate your consideration And as was expressed, it puts us in a position to continue to become competitive. We hope for more. Regarding our acting president, who's going to be leaving us pretty soon, we can't say enough, Dr. Moore, of how much we appreciate the balance and the good vibes that you bring to the table. Thank you so much for the support that you've offered to faculty and your just kind of speaking from the heart here. And so I feel a kinship with you. We're going to miss you. You know, we're just going to miss you. So thank you so much. And that's what we just like to say.
Because students are largely not here over the summer, we do have summer classes, but there will be no student leadership report tonight. And while I have the floor, I would like to conclude my report to the board by expressing my gratitude for the opportunity to serve as the acting president and the support that the board has shown me. I truly appreciate the opportunity to end my career in such a wonderful spot. I also want to publicly give a special thanks to Mary Lou for coaching me through the last 6 months, and to all the cabinet members for keeping the college moving forward. It's been wonderful. That concludes my report.
Isn't he awesome? Mr. Wadka, report on business affairs, please.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, governing board members. 6 days left, Mr. President. Mary Lou, staff, and community members. 3 items from business affairs for information: the monthly budget, review of bids, and also a presentation this evening on the refunding, on the closing that we had, a refunding on the bonds. Actually, we had the closing this morning of our general obligation bonds. So to start with, the monthly budget. Attached, you have your financials through May of 2016, which is 11 months into the fiscal year. It shows the district's general fund expenditures and committed funds are at 83.24% of the total budget, which is an actual decrease of a little over 1% from May of 2015, which was at 84.26. So with 11 months now completed, 1 month to go, all our revenues and expenses are online with the budget. Next item is the awards. Awarded bids over $20,000. We have a handful this evening. First one to Ryko Copy Machines, Ryko USA, Pasadena, California, in the amount of $41,293.12. That is to purchase the new copy machines for the district. Second item, culinary supplies for the Arizona State Prison Program. Standard Restaurant Equipment Company out of Tucson, Arizona, $47,475.83. That is to purchase the culinary supplies for the prison program. Next item, information technology services, Campus Works out of Bradenton, Florida, $94,083. That is to purchase additional information tech services for the district. Next item, Barracuda Spam/Virus, CDWG Inc. out of Vernon Hills, Illinois, $25,241.36. That is to purchase the email and spam filters for our email system. Next one, Saragon Radios from Logicalis Inc., Farmington Hills, Michigan, $22,322.33. That is to purchase parts for our microwave radios that connect the site network Next item, painting, wall repairs, and epoxy flooring for the V Building. Dimension Data, Charlotte, North Carolina, $24,978. This is to contract for services to paint and epoxy the floor in the V Building. This is with state aid funds. Pavement work, asphalt, Ace Asphalt, Phoenix, Arizona, $39,203.56. That is to clean and to seal the pavement at our Santan campus, which is now a little over 2 years old. That is part of our maintenance program to seal that parking lot. Next item, data network cabling. Herbert Fitzpatrick out of Casa Grande, Arizona, $48,243.52. That is to contract for services to upgrade the Wi-Fi reception at the residence life facilities. And the last one is Haas CNC Machines, Ellison Machinery, Tempe, Arizona, $174,140.85. That is to purchase equipment for the machining program that is starting, and this is paid for with the tacit grant funds. Any questions on the budget or bids?
You're still on, Mr. Wadka, for the possible action, the discussion on possible action on the enterprise resource planning system.
Well, one more item, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We'd like to do a presentation. I'd like to call Mr. Nick Dodd from RBC Capital to do a little PowerPoint showing us the results of our refunding of the general obligation bonds. If you recall, I believe it was the February board meeting where we presented the opportunity to be able to refinance, save interest on our GO bonds, save secondary property tax rates into the future, to lower them, I should say. And at that point in February, we were estimating we might save about $2.2 million. Well, we just closed the bonds, and I'll have Nick explain actually what we saved.
Madam President, members of the board, it's a pleasure to be here this evening. I'll be brief, and I do have a presentation to go through. Pardon me? Got it. Prior to the meeting, Mr. Wadka handed out to members of the board, it's about a 50 or 60 page book. I'll spare all 50 or 60 pages, and I've extracted just a few highlights. But for your benefit and for the benefit of the members in the auditorium, this is the table of contents. That's the information that's included in the book. If you want to go to sleep, it's great reading material right before bed. Or if you have some spare time over the weekend, I'd encourage you to read it. And if you ever have any questions, feel free through Mr. Wadka to reach out. We'd be happy to provide an explanation of the materials that are in there. But this is for your benefit with regards to a follow-up to the refinancing. If we could go to the next page real quick. As you remember, when we met in February and March, we identified that there was a favorable interest rate environment. This is a long-term trend of interest rates, and they've been going down for a very long time. To the next page, if we could. This is kind of a more recent snapshot, and if you look back, you can kind of identify when the college sold bonds, which is to the left-hand side of this chart, and as you can see, we've found ourselves in a very favorable interest rate period, particularly in the last 6 to 12 months. And so in February or March, we came to the board, identified the refunding, and moved forward. If we could go to the next page. Apologize for the small font, but what this shows is in February, when we identified the refunding with President Moore and Vice President Wadka, the savings were estimated to be $3.1 million. That's $3.1 million in reduced interest savings that gets passed on to the taxpayers in the form of a lower secondary property tax rate. As bankers, we think about everything in present dollars, so present value today, that translates into $2.5 million, which was the number Mr. Wadka referenced. We've tracked it over time. If you remember, actually from February to March, interest rates spiked up a little bit. I noted that at the board meeting in March when you approved it. The savings had gone down slightly. We really got, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, I say. And we really just caught a favorable market. And the final savings were $4.3 million. So that's $4.3 million in reduced interest that the college pays on these bonds, gets passed on directly to the taxpayers in the form of a lower secondary property tax rate. So the savings from the time we identified it, and President Moore and Vice President Wonka kind of gave us the green light to proceed, the savings increased by over $1.2 million. So congratulations. It's a great result, and we couldn't be happier for the college. If we could go to the next page real quick. This is a question that always comes up. We like to show people just so you have a sense. You didn't extend the debt. You didn't increase it. The savings were simply passed on level every year. So if you paid $5 this year, you might pay $4.50 next year, and it's the same every year thereafter. And there's a lot of numbers there, but the chart in the bottom right-hand corner shows, in fact, the savings were realized the same amount every year from now through 2034 when those bonds pay off. If we could go to the following page, or the next page, excuse me. This is just something that's interesting. You wouldn't normally talk about this unless you were selling bonds, and then I'll look to wrap it up. So you went into the market, and we marketed your bonds to investors. These are people all over the country, maybe all over the world for that matter, mutual funds, individual investors, and the response was great. We had $180 million in orders for just under $29 million in bonds. So that means we had 6 times the demand than we had for the bonds we were selling, because we had identified just a very specific set of bonds. That allowed us to lower interest rates. Chris probably remembers this on the day we sold them, by 10 basis points, which is 0.1%. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it translates into additional savings. And it really represents great demand, great market. It also speaks favorably to the college and your credit, and I'll speak to that on the next page, which is, I promise, the last page. So if you go here, we've shown you on a year-by-year basis all of the different investors, and you can see at the bottom it highlights there was 24 different investors. So not one investor drove the pricing of the bonds. These are some of the biggest investors that are active in our market. I really do think it speaks to the college's credit. The ratings were affirmed at their very high AA rating level. The rating reports are included in the materials we presented, and I think it all kind of came together perfectly for the college, and so that shows you on a maturity by maturity basis who the investors were. I went through that quick. I know there's a lot of information here and in the book. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any from the board.
Just say one more time how much money we saved. 4 point something.
4.3 million.
Next, you're ready.
4.3 million.
Thank you.
One more time.
4.3.
That's nice. Okay, on with your ERP planning
All right.
system report.
Next presentation. Is the clicker not working? Who's in charge of IT?
Yeah.
It's going to reorganize again.
Didn't I ask before the meeting, does the clicker work? All right, go ahead and drive. Take it with. All right, ERP system. For action tonight, we will be recommending a vendor for the ERP system, which is the Enterprise Resource Planning System. So you may ask, well, what is an ERP? You know, an ERP is the most vital organizational tool that we can have. It is really our total business management software. It's typically a suite of everything that's integrated applications, things that we use to collect data, store data, manage data, and interpret the data for all our various business activities, such as our finance department, registration, financial aid, academics, student services, human resources, etc. So that's what an ERP is. Next slide. I'll walk you through the RFP process, the ERP RFP process. These are the listing of the committee members that were on this team for, I would say, almost approximately a year's period of time, since this is a major decision for the college and a multi-million-dollar investment into a system. These individuals represented all of the constituency groups. They included IT staff. They included the module owners of the various departments. And it also included a non-voting member, Liz Murphy from Campus Works, who represented as being kind of our subject matter expert as she has gone through over 20 different types of RFPs in her career. Next, please. So why a new ERP system? Well, I won't read every one of them, but the couple key ones here is a new system is needed to provide reliable, accurate, and affordable access to all the appropriate data and information for all CAC users at any time, at any place. And it's also, the next key thing here is to provide an integrated system. We are not totally integrated right now. Our system is almost 25 years old, and it is not integrated when you look at student information, financial information, human resource information, and payroll information. Next. So we sent out an RFP. Some of these points are what we asked for respondents: scope and minimum requirements, ease of use, maintenance and administration, high performance, reliability, integration, etc. Some of the other key things we looked at is support for flexible terms, especially competency-based education, which is a wave of the future. Powerful and flexible reporting, analysis, and decision-making capabilities. Next, please. This was our selection process. Invited vendors to participate. We did proposals and pricing. On-site discoveries. Vendors were on site doing a discovery. Then we had online demos, and I'll show you the timeline in a second here. But the vendors were on site for both the discovery, and they were also here for the on-site demos, I should say. The demos were held in the month of February. The entire college community participated. Everyone was invited, and we had very good attendance at these demonstrations. And then we also had feedback surveys from staff. So after the on-site demos, best and final pricing, we did some reference checks, and now we're at the point of selecting a vendor and facilitating and negotiating a contract. Next. So our timeline. We started this process back in May of 15 when we started looking at our ERP system, and we started discussions on how do we move forward with a new system. We sent out the request for proposal back in October. Before we broke for the holiday in December, the committee discussed and reviewed the respondents. We decided to move forward with 3 vendors at that point in time in December of 15. In January and February is when the vendors came out for discovery visits and also to do the demonstration presentations. That was by 3 different vendors. End of February, the committee decided to move forward with 2 finalists. At that point, which was March of this year, we started doing reference checks. We sent select committee members, module owners to conferences and also to do visits with other community colleges and or other universities that use the particular vendors, our 2 finalists that we had. And then June 7th, just a few weeks ago, we had a final RFP committee meeting bringing us to this point of selection. Next, please. So some of our evaluation criteria. Most important was functionality. And by functionality, what I'm really talking about is an integrated system, I keep using that word integrated, that operates in real time, a common database that supports all our applications, a consistent look and a feel across all the modules, for all the module owners. And using technology rather than manual processes. We know we still use a lot of manual processes in terms of spreadsheets, etc. It should be done by the computer. Other things here, total cost of ownership, that's obviously important, what the costs are, the vendor's long-term financial viability and stability, and the vendor's corporate strategy, mission, vision, growth, etc. So this is what we evaluated the 2 finalists on. Next, please. So implementation and go live. On June 7th, the committee met, and I'd like to say that we had a unanimous decision. Every single committee member decided we move forward with campus management as the vendor, so to start contract negotiations. We're looking at a projected implementation start date of January 2017 and a projected go live date 18 months later, which would be July 2018, which would be the start of fiscal year 19. Obviously, if the board acts upon this evening, we will start contract negotiations with campus management and start all preliminary work that's required. And there's a lot of work required between now and December 31st before we hit the ground running in January of 17. Next, please. So why campus management? These are just some of the points. Focused training and project management, integration of the new business processes, the flexibility of the system, usability and adaptability, our return on investment in time, money, and people, and really to be a true partnership with CAC to build a stronger future. The committee felt unanimously that this vendor is going to work with us. This vendor will not allow us to fail, and we don't expect this vendor to fail on us. This is going to be a true partnership, an 18-month partnership to get this new system ongoing. Next, please. So we come to the money, fee schedule. This is an estimate right now because it's not a finalized, since we're going to get into contract negotiations. But it will be in the price range around $3.6 million in terms of a 5-year investment. What this vendor has guaranteed is no price increases for the first 5 years. So what you see in the first year is the amount of monies that would be expended for obviously the software, hardware, training, consulting, project management, all those types of costs. The future years are all maintenance costs. We currently pay maintenance costs to our vendor. These maintenance costs have been set frozen for 5 years at $319,742. So the grand total is about 3.6, but that is still subject to contract negotiations. So with that, I have the board action to approve the selection of campus management for the Enterprise Resource Planning System for your consideration.
I make a motion to discuss this fee schedule.
I'm sorry, Deborah, would you repeat?
I make a motion to discuss this fee schedule.
Is there a second? Any questions for Mr. Watkins?
Madam President, I believe my colleagues and I do have some questions.
Sure.
First of all, I think I would like to thank the committee for their long and dedicated work on this very important decision. And I have a number of questions that I would like to ask if it be all right. First of all, I know that we've struggled with the current system for many years, created a lot of problems. And I guess I'm not sure I understand completely why the current system, even though it's 25 years old, was never able to meet the expectations that we had when we made a similar kind of a decision, expensive decision, all those years ago.
Well, sir, I can't really speak to that. We're talking back in the mid-90s. I can only speak from what I've heard, what some, and maybe fellow committee members that are in the audience are welcome to come up and join me. I believe the theory back then is that we did purchase a system, but we did not purchase the proper training that was required for that system. So that left a lot of the implementation upon the staff's shoulders. And over time, what that created is a lot of customization, which really you do not want customization. You really want to, when you select your vendor and you go over your business process reviews, you want to fit that, do it right to begin with, rather than to do things on the run.
For clarity, I wasn't around when that decision was made either. But we have lived with it now for 25 years. And you alluded, Mr. Wadka, to the issue of internal costs.
Yes.
Right staff, right training, right support, right data entry, right maintenance. And I guess my question boils down to these internal costs. This is just the first line of expenditures. If we decide to move forward with this new and updated version, what assurances will we have that we will not end up in the same quagmire and problem that we've had for so many years?
Well, the assurances from the committee and the person running this, which is going to be me, that we're not going to fail on this. I've been through 2 implementations at 2 previous institutions. I know what it takes to get done. And it's going to be a commitment on every single staff person of this institution. And also with project management and the vendor. Project management on our side and project management on the vendor side will not let us fail. There should be no reason for us to fail. 18 months is a very good implementation timetable. If for some reason that isn't enough, we would bring that back to the board. But the committee has spent over a year discussing this, reviewing everything with all of our vendors, and we feel confident that this is the way to go, and we're confident that we will implement it correctly.
Thing on. Okay. What I don't understand, if the process for evaluation has been going on for over a year, why wasn't the board brought in? That's question number 1. And question number 2, in our board minutes under the consent agenda, there are 2 individuals. One was hired May 23rd, the other June 6th, totaling over 100,000 K, and they were hired for this system before the board had even approved this new system. Why was that?
No one has been hired for a new system. What you're looking at on the consent agenda are open positions that were vacant in the IT department and have been filled. Those are positions that need to be filled regardless of any system. And why hasn't the board been brought into this? This is a management decision. The board has been informed in terms of budget. We've discussed, we actually have over $1 million in the current year budgeted. We've talked about and presented before that we are going to look into a ERP system. We just didn't know the timetables and how long the process would take us. We took our time to do our due diligence, so we did not rush into a decision. And we've budgeted this year, we've budgeted next year, and we can budget the maintenance costs into the future. So in terms of budget, the monies are available and there for our ERP system, and that has been something that has been part of the planning process for 2+ years now.
Okay. I'd also like to thank the committee for doing the due diligence on this system. I just have a few questions. One is what demonstration method was used when were they allowed to play with the programs in a sandbox type setting?
Yeah, the presentations, that were 2 days per vendor. During the day, some of the vendors had a classroom, or I should say a conference room set up where any individuals from the college can go in and ask additional questions, go through guidance, go play, like you're saying, in the sandbox. And a number of folks in this room took advantage of that opportunity.
Okay. Can you tell me about the data storage and backup? Will the data be stored here in the campus or in the cloud?
I believe the cloud, yes.
Okay.
Offsite.
Multi backup?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how will the data, is any of the data from the old system usable in the new system?
Well, all data on old system will have to have obviously a configuration process and be able, and a plan to move forward in transferring the data from one system to the other. Also, plans would have to be developed on how long we keep old data, how we keep the old data, how we can access the old data, because obviously for historical purposes, we're going to have to be able to go back a number of years perhaps. So how all that's going to be configured into the new system is all on the table to work through.
Okay. And can you describe the transition to the new ERP system? Will it be turn the switch on Monday morning, or will you
No, typically it's not like that. I believe we will have some type of phasing in on the process.
Okay. And last question. Let's say that we go with campus management and we pay out the 5 years. At the end of the 5 years, is it proprietary and we'd have to continue them, or have can we go with someone else and be able to use the data in the system moving forward?
Every ERP vendor is proprietary. So if the board decided that after 5 years we wanted to go through this whole process again of a new ERP system, it would have to be another vendor and their software and so forth. Right. The only thing that would be moving forward is if there are any new or additional modules that if the college was considering and purchasing, or maybe some new things that may have been developed in IT on campus management side. Outside of that would just be the yearly maintenance costs.
Point of order. Dr. Banks had a motion on the floor. It was not seconded. But the chair did not declare that the motion failed. And then further discussion ensued. Now, is this discussion under her motion?
Yes.
So the motion is still open,
Yes.
waiting for a second.
Yes.
I have another question regarding the conversion of data that we currently have to this new system. Has that been calculated into the fee schedule?
Yes, ma'am.
So as I'm looking at it, if I can see, excuse me, I don't have my distance glasses, the 2,230 some odd,
2251.
yeah, that one, the first year. Regarding that, is that including monies for the conversion?
Yes, ma'am. That's all inclusive.
Okay, and then years 2 through 5 would include not just maintenance, but also training for the current staff?
No.
Or are we going to need new staff?
No. No discussions in terms of any new staff that's required. We still do have vacancies, however, in the IT department. Training and implementation and conversion costs, all of that is within the first 18 months. When you look at year 3 through 5, that is strictly just a maintenance cost that's on the system itself.
So there's no plan in case, let's say, 2 of your programmers, something happens to them where they're not able to work at the college anymore. Bringing in somebody new is going to require training fees. Is that factored into the years 3, 4, and 5?
No, ma'am. That would be a circumstance that would occur, and that would be an emergency, what you're stating, and we would have to bring additional costs to the board at that time. These are strictly maintenance costs on the system themselves.
Just out of curiosity, what is this company, the current vendor who you're courting, or is courting us, whatever?
We are courting them. RFP was on our end.
Okay, we have to figure out how to get the ball over the net. All right, what is their charge for training a new person in SQL language, which is required by this program?
That is correct. All of that detail information you're asking for is all laid out in the proposal, and all will be discussed, game planned when the project manager, first of all, the contract has to be approved. We start contract negotiations, and then we get into the nitty gritty of all that information that you just asked about. The budget is based on X amount of hours of training, X amount of consulting, X amount for this, X amount for that. That is based on the negotiations that we've had to this point in time of what's required for this 18-month conversion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, Dr. Banks was asking about the programming. CAC IT staff will not be doing any programming with this, right? It's pretty much self-contained.
Well, I believe we do have IT programmers, and they will be part of this implementation process, but to what extent, I'm not sure I understand your question. I mean,
Campus management is it's a standard ERP.
yes, it is. Yes, sir.
That was my question.
Thank you.
Further discussion, or is there a second to the motion? Obviously, there are still questions in people's minds. Would you like to ask Mr. Vodka whatever is troubling you?
I'm not sure I understand what Dr. Banks' motion was. Maybe she could restate it for a further consideration.
My motion was to open the discussion about the fee schedule and the details that drive the amounts that we see before us from years 1 through 5.
With that motion, I'm assuming that the discussion that has ensued has answered those questions, and the need for the motion then is no longer there? Or do you feel like we need to have a motion to discuss?
There are so many variables out there regarding implementation, first the conversion of the data, implementation, keeping the staff up to date, etc. And I'm hearing bits and pieces. I could not vote on this at this time until more detail was brought forward. And it doesn't have to be detail in a narrative. It could be done in a number of ways. So for me, I'm saying
Withdrawing
table.
your previous motion?
I'm tabling it.
Would anybody be interested in making a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Is anybody interested in making any kind of motion at this time regarding?
There is a motion on
second.
I would say that without a second, that the motion is null and void. And what's the pleasure of the board regarding the presentation and the work that the committee has done? Anybody have a suggestion? We currently have a contract with Campus Works, is that correct?
With Campus Works, yes, this isn't
I'm sorry?
this is campus management
I
that
know,
we're asking
we
approval for.
currently,
Yeah, we currently have a, right,
and
Campus Works.
that is ending,
That is ending June
as I
30th, correct?
understand it.
We have hired
So-
a new IT director 2 weeks ago. I'd like to introduce her. She's in the audience, Ms. Candace Ross. Please stand up. She is working now the last couple of weeks of the transition over from Campus Works to our own IT.
So I guess I'm asking if the board provides no action on this, where do we go from here?
Well, the board can guide me on what else they would like me to provide on this
Does
decision.
anybody have something specific that they would like to hear?
Madam President, members of the board, members of the audience. I agree with Dr. Banks in that this is the first time I've heard about this major decision process. And so I'm trying to get my head around this whole transaction. As I stated before, I am aware of some of the baggage of our previous antiquated, outdated, no longer supported, non-integrated program. I understand those issues very much. And my concern is, as I said before, how do we know that by making this significant investment tonight, that we're not going to find ourselves back in the same morass that we have been all along? I understand that we need a data management program. I understand the old system is outdated and is not working. I'm just looking for clarification that we're not going to end up back in the same problem that we thought we had solved many years ago.
I would say from our panel of experts who have gone to the meetings and who had put out the RFP, and there have been responses that we really need to leave things in their hands because we do not know enough about what is being done, and the experts are telling us this is what we need to have done.
Madam Chair, the committee was experts. By experts, I mean the module owners. So the module owner of financial aid, the module owner of the finance, module owner of registration, module owner of HR. All of these served on the committee. All of these went to the conferences held by the two finalists. Both of these visited other community colleges and or universities that use the systems. So the due diligence was done in this process. I mean, I'd be happy to provide more information for the board, but I just don't know what else the board would like to see.
Madam President, Mr. Blanca,
Yes, sir.
you have very articulately mentioned the credentials of the committee. I guess if I had the assurance from the committee itself, and I know officially it's in the report, but I want to look into everybody's eyes and say, is this what you really want?
Come on up, committee. Absolutely. Here are your module owners. Here are your people that were on the committee.
One of the things I'd like to say is our current ERP system is from Elution. It's Banner. It was implemented many years ago with minimal training with implementation. So I've been using Banner for the last, I believe, 6-7 years intensely within student services. And when I came into it, it's been a learn as you go type venture. We go and we do attend the conferences that they hold every year, but you only get so much information out of that. And unless you're spending additional dollars to get additional training, it's very difficult. So right now we're spending a lot of money to have our programmers take the time to get information from this source, get information from that source, get information from this source, get information from that source, because we're not using our system the way it should be used, because we didn't receive the proper implementation and planning that we should have to begin with. So if we were to do, whether it's a re-implementation or a purchase of an implementation of a new system, we're going to be saving staffing dollars, because we'll be able to use our IT staff for what they're capable of doing, which is not just fetching information for us, but actually doing programming needs. We'll have our staff actually not using Excel spreadsheets to keep information, because we're using the system to keep other information where that information should be used. So if we were to do a new training, you know, we struggle right now with getting the help that we need from our current system vendors. So if we were to go with campus management, we feel strongly that they would provide us with the support. These individuals have, I mean, I was walking through a conference in Phoenix and they had a booth set up. They recognized me from months previous to that. And they were like, Veronica, these vendors truly want to be sure that we succeed. They're dedicated to the staff here at the college and to meeting our needs. And I know that the staff really feel that this is needed as well, because every day they're going through having to just, you know, kind of muddle through things just to make things work, to get the information. As we go through audits, we're finding that there's more information that we're not tracking appropriately, because we're not using the system the way it should be. We need to get a new system, get the data in there, and I think that everybody at the college and with campus management is dedicated to making sure that that is what's going to happen in the end and be successful.
Good evening. I'm Elisa Juarez, and I'm the Director of Financial Aid. Was a huge supporter of Banner. There are 4 other colleges, community colleges in our state that use Banner, have them on speed dial. With federal financial aid, it's over $20 million of financial aid that we provide to our students. And so we have to use Banner to its fullest potential. Any ERP system, we have to use it to its fullest potential, because we have to reconcile, we have to provide assistance, we communicate with our students using this system. So it was very important for me to be involved in this committee, and I want to say I was one of the biggest critics when it came to selection. And like I say, I was a huge supporter of Banner, but what happened with Banner over the years is we became stagnant. My area is highly regulated by the U.S. Department of Education, and so being a director and overseeing my staff and really utilizing our resources to the best that we can so that we're not manually processing, I became a self-learner when it came to Banner. And so then my system then became the driver of upgrades within Banner. And we go through at least 10 to 15 upgrades a year. So we became the driver, letting all the other systems know we have to upgrade so that we can best process for our students and manage our programs. And I have to say, in going to the conference, in talking to at least 7 to 8 other colleges and universities that use campus management, I am fully convinced this is the system that we need. It is the system that we need in order for us to maintain innovation, to be able to use the system the best to its capability and streamline our processes, because we need to move forward. We need to stay competitive, and this is the system that's going to allow us to do that. And it will help in every aspect, from recruitment to retention to graduation rate. This system is what we rely on to be able to provide not only academic learning to our students, but also retention rates and graduation rates. Good
Good evening, Brandy Clark, Executive Director of HR. I am fairly new. I still call myself the new kid. It's just shy of 2 years. And my team doesn't use Banner at all. And we are very much spreadsheet driven. It is my understanding that the system, again, was not set up appropriately. So we've had to tweak and turn. And now all of our processes are completely very manual, very long processes that really need to be shored up, and we need a system that can do that. I will tell you that my staffing has actually increased because of Banner, because I have so many people to have to do those things that Banner can't do and won't do for us right now. And I'll just say one more thing. I do feel that if we were to keep what we have and re-implement what we have, I think we're at a higher risk of our team or our staff to completely revert back to where we are now. And with a new system, we won't have that opportunity. We are going to, at some point, have to say, no more spreadsheets. You learn it, you move forward, and this is the way we go. And I'm really excited, and my team's excited about all the different offerings that campus management offers. I was very big on the training component because I think we need that. We need ongoing training. It wasn't, we'll train you, and then you leave, and now nobody knows what we're doing. It's they will come on board. They will train us. It's almost like a hand-holding thing, and I think that we need that here. So anyway, that's my experience with going through the RFP process. It was a great learning opportunity, and I think it's definitely the direction that we need to go.
I'm Louise Saad. I'm the Executive Director of Accounting Services. I am the module owner over finance with the Banner system. I put in a lot of time and effort into this decision because it's very important to the finance department. The finance staff participated in all the, with the on-site visit, all the demonstrations. They provided feedback to me on both the systems. So I feel like I have done everything that I possibly could to evaluate the systems that were available for us to choose from. I also see that in Banner we are very manual process oriented, which affects our students and our staff. We have a lot of spreadsheets that we use, paper forms, triplicate forms, and it was very exciting to see the possibility to get rid of a lot of those triplicate forms. That costs a lot of money to produce as well. I myself, participating in the committee, I feel like I have communicated that I'm very dedicated to this process. I will not let the finance department fail, so I'll do everything that I can to make sure that we do what we're supposed to, we get the proper training. I do know that there is some training included in those annual maintenance fees. So when you do have staff turnover, there's a subscription to training that will, so we'll be able to continue training our staff as we have turnover. I also felt like I was a big Banner supporter as well. Finance does use a lot of Banner, even though they estimate we probably only use a third of the system, but we do use quite a bit of it. So it took a lot to convince me to switch. But I think the finance staff are going to be very excited about this process, and I really did feel like campus management will not let us fail, and that was one of the reasons why I voted for them.
Hi, I'm Christina Rosenbaum again. I'm actually not a module owner. I am the secretary of the ECE department, and I'm like most people on this campus when it comes to support staff. We use a lot of the various windows in Banner. There's a lot of them. I actually have a long cheat sheet on the side of my computer that tells me all the little alphabets I got to type in for every single window. It's very confusing at this time. I didn't receive training from the person before me. I instead had to learn it within my department. This new campus management, their system that they showed us is very easy to maneuver. It's going to be easy for new people coming in or any new replacements. They're going to give us the training that is needed. They've also spoke about train the trainer, so we would have our own trainers within our campus that can provide that training to any new person that comes in or switches positions, because that does happen. They're the only ones that I can honestly say that I was confident with, that they're going to be there for us from the beginning until the end, and even after the end. They're going to continuously be there for us. And like I said, I'm one of those people who works, across the board when it comes to banner here and there. And I'm have to speak for support staff. Like, we kind of get left out of the loop sometimes. And the training that they're saying that they're going to provide for us, which I know is a big thing, it is really important to me and other support staff members as they come in. I'm like the rest of them. This was the one system that when they explained it was completely understandable. They were there for us whenever they came in and they did their, what was that called? The demonstration. I apologize. It's a long day. They actually allowed us to go in and do the one-to-one. They listened to every single question. It didn't matter what your question was, and they had answers. They didn't have to call anyone to look anything up. All their people are very knowledgeable in every department. So I think the system is going to be fully functional across the board for support staff as well as every other module owner.
These aren't experts. These are all users here. Your expert's sitting right there, campus management. Why can't you call someone in and make the sales pitch to you? You're going to spend a lot of money on them. Sorry. But they're the experts sitting right there.
I think that we're showing a supreme lack of confidence in our management whenever they have gone forth.
We've long known that Banner has its warts, and it's had its good points. I am convinced from listening to the users who have to put up with its warts every day, know its benefits, know the risks. I'm convinced that it's time that we put a stake through Banner's heart. I understand that our contract with Campus Works is concluding and that we need to do something. And recognizing the due diligence that has been put into it, recognizing that the verbal and tacit approval that I'm sensing from within the user group, I think probably this is a good decision. I am going to be very interested in the future to see how well this new system develops and whether it is the miracle that we're looking for or whether it's got its own set of warts.
Well, Mr. Gibson, I mean, every system's going to have its warts. That's the reality of life. And thank you for the compliments, Madam Chair. I would not be standing here recommending this company if I felt in any way it's the wrong decision, even a little twinkling like maybe we shouldn't. I mean, I don't come here and stand and tell you what the administration feels we should be doing if we don't have 100% on board, unanimous decision from all the major users, which was tremendous. This was really over a year's process how these people got together, because everybody has to work together. When it comes to an implementation, configuration, training, it's not working in silos. Financial aid works with finance. Finance works with HR. Everyone is going to be working together on the system, learning the system at the same time, and implementing one heck of a system to move us forward.
Madam President, I move that we authorize college officials to enter negotiations with campus management, and when they are satisfied they have the best deal possible for the college to purchase the software and associated equipment and training necessary to install this program at Central Arizona College.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second that.
Okay, it's been discussed.
I'm not finished discussing. I want to say to the committee, you are committed, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate your testimony. My last job, I felt like I was in the middle of the Middle East. And it was all about conversion of one computer system to another. And one of the major things that drove the momentum down was converting the data from one system to another, and that's what a user doesn't see. I hope that we do not run into a data conversion problem that's going to take 5 years.
Comment? No comment. Mr. Miller?
I'm just assuming that that campus management looked at some of the data to get a feel for how sturdy,
Absolutely.
how stable it is.
Absolutely.
Okay. Are we ready for the vote or further discussion? Okay, it has been moved and seconded that we enter disagreement with Enterprise Resource or for Enterprise Resource. So all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, 4-1. So it does pass. Thank you, Mr. Watkin. Thank all
Thank
of
you.
you.
Mr. Gibson said enter into negotiation. That was his wording. You didn't say that. You said agree to. He said enter into negotiations. That's a different motion.
You want to go with the motion that's on the cover sheet?
The motion was to negotiate and sign a contract when they were comfortable with what they had negotiated.
I'm not sure what the problem was. Does anyone on the board have a problem with the way it was stated? No?
We stand
Okay. Next is discussion of possible action on the determination of a board retreat date in July. I think that Mary Lou has been working on that with Dr. Elliott. And
Since my name is on the agenda item, I'll bring it up to date.
okay,
We have been polling the board members as to their availability, and July, the board is extremely busy. So I think the first available date that meets the board's needs and Dr. Elliott's is August 8th. So we would ask the board to make a motion to have the board retreat set on that date, and then we'll move forward with securing the facilities and all that sort of thing once we have the date.
okay. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Motion to have the retreat August 8th.
I'm sorry.
Motion to have the retreat August 8th.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor of such motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Jenny Cardenas with College Affairs report, please.
So, Madam President, Governing Board, Dr. Moore, colleagues, guests, students, community members. I'm very pleased to introduce Sherry Lacone, who will be presenting to you tonight. She's our Director for Student Retention and is presenting today talking about our WIOA program. And we're very excited that we've been recently awarded additional funding for that program. And thank you, Hugo Steinkamp and the WIOA staff for putting that together. And Sherry, if you'd like to come up and present for us. Thank you. President Christensen, President Moore, governing board members, community members, staff, faculty, and students, thank you so much for the opportunity to present on our WIOA program, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. I'm presenting on this program that, in my belief, is so critically important to Pinal County, to the citizens and residents of Pinal County, and of course also to the college. But again, yes, my name is Sherry Naplicon. I am the Director for Student Retention, and I'm presenting on WIOA today as this program falls under my area of retention. If you could advance the slide. So the WIOA program is Title I under WIOA. So the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act was signed into law by President Obama in 2014. And it was an extension of a WIOA, a workforce, I'm going to forget they switched the names, but it was first WIA, and it is now WIOA, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. This grant has some interesting flow. The funding of it comes from the United States Department of Labor. It then flows through the state of Arizona, then continues to trickle into Pinal County, and through Pinal County comes to Central Arizona College. So you can imagine, I have such utmost respect for the coordinator of this program due to the logistics of navigating legislation at those 4 bureaucratic and legislative levels. The purpose of this grant is to assist out-of-school and low-income youth between the ages of 14 to 24 in overcoming barriers related to education and employment. So you can understand how important this grant is to Pinal County overall in tackling the challenges that we have with both education and employment of our youth. The fly sitting on my glasses today says that this grant has a tremendous team which take on intensive case management, career planning, and I will say that this grant has a specific focus on career planning, financial assistance with tuition, books, and other expenses to help their clients, and they're termed clients, they're not students, they're not participants, they are clients, meet their educational and employment goals. The end goal for these programs is future employment of clients via work experience, work readiness, and those types of opportunities. The service objectives, 75% of, those are flipped actually, I'm sorry. 75% of participants should be out of school youth. So this grant is focusing on those students who are not in school and who are not employed. So those students we really need to get to, those participants. 25% of the participants in this grant can be in-school youth. So someone who is, yes, I'm sorry, it's flipped. That is incorrect.
That is incorrect.
That is incorrect. It's flipped. 75% should be out of school youth. I apologize for the error. And 25% can be in school, someone who's already in school but just needs some assistance to get going. Okay, if you could advance the slide. Some accomplishments, and I'll keep this part short. The Arizona at Work, the WIOA program, has successfully served over 225 youth and exceeds its state of Arizona performance measures every single year. 40 youth completed the program in September 2015. Now that number sounds low, but that means that 40 youth were successful completers within the program, meaning they were exited out, which in this program is a good thing. It means they achieved the objective. 68% of those youth completed a credential, meaning they came out with a tangible employment credential to move into the workforce. 89% of our youth are actively engaged in grant-approved activities, and 48 have participated in paid work experience in their communities. This fly is distracting my presentation here. If you could advance that. So, Vice President Cardenas stole my thunder, and I wanted to thank Hugo Steinkamp for the tremendous amount of work on the rewrite of this grant, because this grant will bring in over 5 years, $6.5 million to the college for grant-specific activities, but it is revenue, it is coming in. It is to the tune of $1.3 million per year, and I spoke of the amazing team that runs this grant, and their lead
coordinator is Kara Bryant. You'll see her contact info at the end of this presentation. Kara couldn't be here tonight, so I sort of came as her sidekick. The WIOA career planners. So if you think in a case management sense, the WIOA program has career planners. And these career planners, and think about the terminology, we're focusing on employment, getting our youth employed. These career planners we have located throughout Pinal County. And I will say we are one of a very select few institutions of higher learning to even possess a WIOA grant. This is something that is not standard. We are lucky to have Hugo Steinkamp, actually, is what it is. This grant is not common in institutions of higher learning, and we are lucky to have it. The career planners are located throughout Pinal County at most of our campuses, and we really have made an effort in this grant to make sure that we have services available in the far-flung corners of our areas. We're not just Casa Grande, we're not just Apache Junction, we are everywhere in WIOA. We also, in the new refunding of this grant, which will be 2016 through 2021, which seems so far away right now, but we have written in a career planner who will be dedicated to outreach and relationship development with our business community. And that career planner actually will be located, but not specifically chained down to, but he'll be located in the Copper Corridor area. So we're trying to develop those relationships, and I believe that will really tie into other initiatives going on in other areas of the college. So if you can advance the slide. So if you're not convinced yet how really beneficial the WIOA program is, let's take a look at these success stories. So we've got Brianna, 18 years old, single mom, and graduated early from high school while completing a pharmacy tech certificate while in the WIOA program. She did her work experience. Now this is paid work experience. How beneficial for an 18-year-old with a dependent? Paid work experience at a pharmacy at Walgreens. She was then hired full-time by Walgreens and says, I am so grateful for the help of the WIOA program. I now have a career that will help me to raise my child in a better way than what I experienced growing up. And Brianna plans to continue her education and go into the nursing program here at CAC. So keep creating lifelong learners. If you could advance the slide. One more here, we have Taylor. She enrolled in WIOA while attending high school. She completed her massage therapy degree at CAC. She completed her work experience at Massage Envy, was then hired full-time, and says that the WIOA youth program assisted me in finding my life's path, and I'm very happy to have participated. If you could advance the slide. Kara Bryant, again, is the coordinator of WIOA, and I'm sure that you can agree with me that this is a fantastic program that is bringing great things to our county. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity to present.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who does the recruitment and registration for these students? Is that done at CAC?
Yes. Well, we have career planners. Across the county, and they are employed by the grant with grant funds by the grant. There is a one-stop located in Casa Grande. We have a career planner at the Santan campus. We will have a full-timer in AJ, and out in Aravaipa as well. Going forward, this is a new grant starting July 1, and we have one that travels to Maricopa as well. So they're located around the county. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Next, we have Dr. Mary Kay Gilliland with Academic Affairs presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, President Moore, colleagues, students, and guests. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to present to you tonight. Academic Affairs has a really brief presentation. It feels a little anticlimactic after some of the other discussion tonight. But I am continuing with the Higher Learning Commission standards. It's sort of an ongoing effort to sort of lay the groundwork for working on our systems portfolio, which is coming up, in the next year and a half, but we really have to start working on it sooner. And community education is a part of what we're charged to do in this process. So I'm continuing tonight with Criterion 3. We actually did half of it last time, or about 3/5 to be perfectly accurate. This is a criterion which is really the heart and soul of an institution like ours. It focuses on teaching and learning. Actually, I'm going to say we have 2 criteria that are on teaching and learning, but this is one of the larger pieces, and it has to do with quality, resources, and support. So last time we covered parts A, B, and C of the standard, which focused on degree programs. You can go ahead and move forward, sorry. Focused on degree programs, the content of educational programs, and on the faculty. And the institution is called to demonstrate that these are all appropriate and effective. And I'm going to add, it's not just that we have to demonstrate that we're doing these things. We need to be doing these things, and I believe we truly are, but part of our charge is to keep that standard up to a high level and to continue to gather evidence so we're always able to demonstrate that we are in that, that we're doing those things. Okay, so continuing tonight, we really just have 2 more pieces of this criterion. So we can go to the next one. 3D, the institution provides support for student learning and effective teaching. So we're moving from the content of the learning and the faculty themselves to looking at support services. And this particular portion of the criterion, the standard 3D, asks us to provide appropriate student support to the populations of our institution, to have the kinds of assessment and placement that is appropriate for guiding our students to taking the correct kinds of programs and courses and helping them make those really difficult decisions as they enter our institution, or maybe as they change their majors and focus. We have to help them be ready for study at the appropriate level. And I want to add, there's some additional language in this piece. They don't actually require us to provide all of that preparatory work. It's up to the institution to make that decision, but we have to be consistent in how we do that. And we have to advertise ourselves properly. So if we do provide the developmental education or the prerequisites that students need, those need to be available and properly advertised. If we don't, then we need to help students understand what they do need to be ready for certain kinds of programs. Okay, and we also need academic advising that's not just the student support services in general, but advising that's effective and suited to the programs that we offer. And another piece that I'm actually really very glad that is included here is that they ask us to make sure that we're providing information literacy support for students, that we have guidance for helping students understand what research is, and for how to use information resources. So those things need to be built into our programs, either directly into the coursework that we offer or into other kinds of activities that we provide. Okay, so that's 3D. 3E, the institution fulfills the claims it makes for an enriched educational environment. So in this piece, we're really moving away from the direct classroom and even the support services and looking at the other pieces of what goes on in a college or university, especially co-curricular activities. And one of the things that this standard actually asks us to do is to make sure that our co-curricular programs are really appropriate to our mission. And this means not only that we provide co-curricular activities, and these are things like clubs and sports and other kinds of programs and services, and this is really a wide variety of things. We're not really required to provide specific things, but if we have a mission that states that we do this and enrich the student's experience, which I believe it's sort of implied in what we do, that our programs are appropriate to that. But the HLC actually asks institutions to make sure that those co-curricular experiences also don't take front and center. That what we're doing is a very balanced package, so that the co-curricular pieces are there, but our students are here first and foremost for teaching and learning, or for the learning piece, of course, and moving forward with their educational plans. So I think that that's really a nice reminder to us. And then it also asks us that if we claim to contribute to learning, such as research opportunities, service learning, I'm losing the word here, internships, any other economic or workforce development. And they add religious or spiritual training because, of course, they cover institutions that provide that. That's not really part of our mission. but that we have to demonstrate that we live up to the mission, that we provide those things. So in summary, the criterion 3 in general, and we can go to I think the last slide, calls on us to provide solid evidence of quality of teaching, quality of student learning, and the variety of resources that fit that and support that, and that these are all in keeping with our mission and balance. So that's it for criterion 3. We will, I guess, get back to criterion 4 in a couple of months, so it'll be a little while. But any questions from anybody? Comments?
Questions or comments?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, the consent agenda will be presented as is unless some board member would like to remove any item. What is the wish of the board at this point for the consent agenda?
Madam President, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
A second to
I think
that?
the right word is approve. Thank you. I would like to insert the word approve instead of whatever I said.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Is there a second to the motion?
There's a second. I second the motion.
All in favor of such motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Somewhere it ends. Yeah. Right. The second reading and possible adoption for policy 541 about sabbatical leave. Randy Clark.
Good evening. I've come armed for the fly. And I'll be ready for it. Governing Board President Christensen, Governing Board members, President Moore, Mary Lou, staff, and guests. This evening I present to you the second reading of College Policy 541, Sabbatical Leave. This policy revision comes at the recommendation of the faculty. The revision to Policy 541 takes the current separate eligibility requirements for staff and faculty and make the eligibility requirements the same and consistent for all employees. In addition, requiring that all full-time employees, with 5 consecutive years of full-time service be eligible to apply for a sabbatical leave. I would be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Since I wasn't here for the first reading, can you give me some background on what prompted the leave?
Faculty brought this sabbatical leave forward to the Policy Procedure Committee quite some time ago. We had some concerns that there was a separate eligibility requirement. Faculty was less years than staff. They thought that that combining the two and making it one overall requirement was very consistent. We've done some additional work on the procedure as well, and that's really the background of the policy. But it allows for staff to take a sabbatical upon meeting very specific requirements of doing research to assist the institution, advanced degrees, pursuing a doctorate, that type of thing, and taking time off to write a thesis. But there are very specific requirements in the in the procedure that anybody that would be applying for a sabbatical leave would have to meet in order to be eligible.
Could you tell me just offhand estimate how many faculty and staff have taken this opportunity?
Probably over the past 10 years, I might guesstimate at about 2 or 3. It's a program that is very rarely used.
And is the 5 years consistent amongst our sister colleges?
Yes. When our process, and I'll make this very brief, is once a proposed policy or procedure is submitted to the Policy Procedure Committee, they go out and do work. We may reach out to other community colleges, sister community colleges, or universities, and get copies of their policy, see what's consistent within the area, bring it back to the table. Once the committee is comfortable with that draft, we send it out to all constituency groups, to our support, our managerial and technical, to our faculty, get feedback from them. They review that again, and once we're comfortable with that, then it comes to you. You bet.
Okay, we need a vote on it tonight.
Please.
Okay. Further discussion, or do I hear a motion?
Second.
All in favor of such motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next board meeting will be here at the Signal Peak campus on August 16th. And now submission of travel vouchers, and the meeting is adjourned.